Hi, I'm Scott Elliott, and welcome to Why We Do It, our conversation series here at the New Group that we are doing from our homes while we are in quarantine. Uh, anyway, so why we do it, we came up with that idea because, well, we're all sitting around doing nothing and we're wondering why the hell we do it. So we decided to invite some of our favorite artists to talk with us about why they do it. So today, well, anyway, we're coming to you live from, we're coming to you live through Facebook Live and YouTube. And, we are accepting donations. So if you would like to donate, you can visit our website at thenewgroup.org, www.thenewgroup.org. And please do, because we can always use the help. Anyway, today on Why We Do It, we're welcoming one of our favorite actresses, one of everybody's favorite actresses, I should say, Edie Falco. Are you there, Edie?
I am.
There you are, Edie.
Hello.
Hi, dear. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I know.
The punches, literal and otherwise.
Yeah, well, it's a moment, right? Well, I mean, I don't know. Every time this is the, I think, fourth one of these that I've done. I had Cynthia, Bobby Cannavale, and Derek McLean, and now you. And every time I do it, I think I honestly can't believe I'm doing this. Although I've really started to look forward to it because it does give me a chance to sort of relax with some of my favorite people, and of course you're one of them. Anyway, so thanks for doing it and thanks for joining and
happy to be here. Happy
and
to
all that. And so how you hanging in?
I don't know.
Hanging with nothing to do like the rest of us. Although I do have a lot to do. I'm sure you do too.
I'm surprisingly
so busy. It's crazy, but
yeah, like I was amazed at how much stuff can be done online. It's not the same.
No, of course not.
But it is better than nothing. And with the online schooling thing, which has been on my end disastrous. It's not.
You're not the first person I've heard that from. Everybody's had it so hard. Just to get them to do it. I just can't imagine what it must be like to be a kid, your kid's age, especially like such an incredible, important ages.
Yeah.
Having to just put their life on hold. Who would have ever thought?
I know.
But they keep telling us that over the ages, this has happened over and over again. But we're better than those people were, right? We're more.
Yeah, in theory, yeah. But, it's I think there are some kids who might do better than others, who kind of are tuned into that kind of thing. And my kids aren't, and it's fine. And I have to get away from the idea that there's something else that I can be doing to help them along, because then it becomes me going through ninth grade again, and I did it already. So
I can imagine that feeling.
Just trying to let go. It is what it is,
I know, but that's who you are. That's what makes you you. You have that it is what it is attitude about everything, which is such a great way to sort of think about things.
Hell, it certainly is a lifesaver. I mean, for all the times you try to change your surroundings to accommodate the way you feel, and you realize you really can't. You can't. So you just sort of roll with all this stuff as best you can. And there are good days and there are bad days, and moods come and go. And
definitely, I've had many more bad moods. I never have so many bad moods.
Right.
It's like all of a sudden there's bad moods.
Yeah, and it's not necessary. It's not based on anything specific that day. It's just this overriding. I don't know.
Well, we're all in like a global depression. I think everybody is.
Right.
It's like everybody I know is suffering from this sort of depression. I mean, it's just a haze.
Yes.
Those of us who aren't depressed all the time.
That's right. Haze, I consider myself remarkably, comparatively sane.
I consider you that too.
I've convinced everyone.
I do. You have convinced me.
I really worry about the people who've really struggled mood-wise. People
totally
who have this kind of propensity to be depressed anyway.
It's true, and you have your kids. Even though they can be a nightmare when you're trying to school them, you still have them. I know so many people who are going through this all alone, and it's my heart. And those of you who are even watching this, sending you a big hug. We're thinking very much about people who are experiencing this by themselves.
Yes. And that would have been me at some point, but of course my kids, and also my sister's been staying with
Oh,
me.
right, you said, right,
And
your sister. So that must be
so
great.
good. She lives out on Long Island, and she's in a big house by herself, and she's been here. And first of all, I haven't spent this much time with her since I was, I don't know, 7, and we shared a room. And what a treat that has been. She's just great. She's really great. We have similar sensibilities about keeping things clean and organized, and based on a crazy childhood, and that's the way we feel sane. All this stuff, sharing childhood memories that are completely different, which is
the Rashomon.
We started to play
childhood Rashomon. Yeah.
But anyway, it's been lovely. It's been a real godsend, and I'm trying to stay in touch with my friends who I know are alone, and some of them are really struggling.
I know, me too. Me too.
Yeah, sending out kisses and hugs.
Yes, it's harsh. You're the it's funny because you're the one person that I actually ran into, in this quarantine business when I was out from one of my bike rides, and there you were sitting there.
It's like a mirage in the desert.
I was like, could that really be you? And so that was like a pleasure. I still remember it like it was like one of the greatest highlights of my life, because it was so,
everything is relative.
Those things, right? It's all relative. Everything feels so different now. It's insane.
It was one of those rare times where I thought, I'm not just going to walk and get my coffee or whatever the hell it was. I'm going to walk, and then I'm going to sit for a second outside with my mask and drink my coffee. And I stopped, and then bicycle pulls up. It was shocking.
Because I said, who was that lady sitting there? Because it was pretty early on. You had your dog, you had your Brussels Griffin, and you were there with your dog. And you were like getting a little sun. And I was like, who's that lady sitting there? It's not even warm out in the sun. And there I looked took a double take, and it was you, which really was. And I remember it so fondly because, let's say, you're the only one. But listen, hey, tell me, I'm looking at your background, which of course is so fascinating on these Zoom things, because I love looking at the backgrounds behind people. I'm sure I'm not alone. But tell me about, I know that's your craft wall, but what's going on back there at that craft wall? And have you been crafting during all of this?
It just so happens I have good light in this room. Like, I just have the window open. I don't have any other lights, and that's why I sit here. But this is my little craft room. I have been very crafty forever. And it's always been like taking my sewing kit and my something out, putting everything on the kitchen table. And at some point I thought, why don't I took part of a bigger room and put a wall up, and I have my own little studio now where I sit here for hours. My TV's over here. I watch a little TV. I listen to music. And I usually sew. I sew things. I embroider things. I made a table. I don't know. It's all, in the scheme of things, it's not about making stuff. I don't need anything, Right. But it's the act of doing that brings me such tremendous joy. And I've been doing it for, I don't know, since I was a little kid.
And want to hear something funny? I'll reveal something to you that I'm almost a little embarrassed about. But I decided, because I have to work on so many different things because it's such a crazy time running a theater. But I was feeling I needed something to do with my hands. So a friend of mine is going to teach me how to knit, which sounds so gay. I was like, oh my God. And then I asked my boyfriend if it was too gay, and he said, no, it's okay. You can knit. I thought it might be interesting because it feels like something that, I know you knit, right? Yeah.
I crochet, actually.
You crochet, right. Anyway, I don't know. I'm going to give it a try. Hopefully I'll do it for more than one lesson, but I'm going to try.
There's something about the sitting down to do something, and then
that's what I thought. It's like mindless.
Thing that wasn't there before, and
yeah, I'll make you a scarf.
I love it. Yeah, please.
You'll be my first scarf.
All right, good.
Yeah, good. All right. So anyway, let's talk about a little bit about what we do, because of course I've been sitting around, and it gets deeper and deeper every week as I meet my friends on these Zoom things, where I miss it so much. Like, I just feel like, what the hell? And so you realize at these times, I think, when we're, because when you're an artist, I guess you think, oh, I'm an artist, but then you realize that in a moment like this, that it's not just that you're an artist, but it's really a part of you.
Yes.
So it feels in a weird way like an amputation has occurred.
That's it.
Don't you feel that way? I mean, I knew you were coming off Tommy, which I watched in quarantine, which I was able to sort of watch the whole season, and it's so good.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh my God, I just think that, amazing. It brought me back to when I first met you. You didn't meet me, but I met you. And I watched, when I had seen the movie, well, I think it was in the 80s, Laws of Gravity, the Nick Gomez movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you and Adam Tracy, and I thought during that movie, God, I want to work with those guys. I wasn't even a director then, and then when I became a director, I was able to sort of like go after all of my fantasies
Oh my God.
and to actually work with people that I had fantasized
Did you
working.
work with Adam ever?
I did. I've directed him a couple of times.
No way.
Yeah. I had him. Well, pardon my French, but I had him in an anal sex scene with a man in Thomas Bradshaw's play Burning, and he was incredible in it.
Yeah.
He's an incredible actor, and I love him as a person too. I haven't seen him in a while, but
I think he stopped acting quite some time ago.
Yeah, he did. He's a real estate broker.
You're a real estate. That's right.
Yeah,
that's what I.
He's in real estate. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
More sane direction, I guess.
But perhaps.
Yeah.
That is the thing, like a one by one, people who are able to, drop out, move on, because here I am, like I've so enjoyed making the TV show Tommy because I love to work and because I love the family aspect of it and all that. But we got. Oh, I'm hearing something. Is that
That's just me.
Reverb? Oh, no.
You're hearing reverb on yourself, like an echo or something?
Yeah. Well, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so Tommy got canceled. And here I am sitting around back in the same position of like, all right, so what's next, And I feel like I'm so sick of being in a situation where that decision is not entirely mine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just scheduling and scripts and what's been green lit and all that stuff that is it's very frustrating that I unfortunately can't do what I love to do by myself. It involves lots of people and oftentimes lots of money, and all the things have to fall into place at the right time in order for me to have like such joy. Really, I just love working on stuff. I play or whatever. And it seems to me it's still worth it. It's still, after all these years, it's still worth it to put up with all the crap around the business end of some of this stuff that can be very frustrating. And now I can't even say, this business makes me crazy. Like, we're just in a holding pattern of like, well, how are we ever going to get back to this stuff? It's theater I'm most worried about.
Totally. Believe me. Yeah, me too. But I do think that it's interesting because there is even in this, because, of course, at first I was very resistant to all the, all the online stuff. It felt like, it's not theater. But at the same time, there's a craving to make things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a craving because it's happening. And I'm engaged in it.
How great.
But there's just no way that I can't be, because I have to, we have to keep things going. And, I'm part of my job is being a motivator. And so I try to motivate people to do things, and artists are really in, finding ways to enjoy, connecting artistically in this way. It doesn't feel the same, obviously, when I watch some of the things, but we have a fun few offerings that are going to be coming out, and hopefully people will be entertained and the artists will feel engaged, because, people think, we always think about our audiences, but mostly I think about our artists and, making sure that everybody stays sane and healthy and continues to think, so that when we all come out of this. Yeah, I'm scared about the theater too, but I do think that there's a certain sort of crazy, it's going to be a while, obviously. We're not going to see theater really. I think we might see some smaller offerings, in safe, with great precautions and small groups of people before we're actually able to sort of reopen. But I sort of feel I feel a great will of, around me, of people, willing it. And I think that once they get the health thing in order, and hopefully they'll get that in order, that we will see the theater come back in a way that, that where we all can all be together and enjoy, what that is.
Yeah. I hope you're right, is all I can say. And there are days when I do feel hopeful and excited. And then the other days that just, gravity really just has its way with you, and you can kind of try to rouse yourself up into a better state of mind. But it makes things I never thought of that were meaningful. The gathering of people in a room to hear a story, whoever thought that would be at risk, it's such a crazily strange time. And I think it is a test of one's mental health, to see how you can continue to keep yourself sane during times like this. And yeah, I'm sure people are still making stuff, and you're right, because it is a necessity. It's not just like, oh, I miss it. It really, you start to feel almost sick, not being able to express this part of you that has been a part of you for most of us, probably forever. So yeah, we're an adaptable species, and for that, I'm very grateful.
I know. I feel the same way. What are you hearing about, film and TV? I was talking to some of my LA friends, or my people in, who are more in that area. It's a similar issues, with
Yeah.
with how do people, because you can't really make a movie or a TV show with 5 people.
No.
It's just such a big machine. It's a gigantic machine. Yeah,
That's it.
But I imagine eventually they're going to get all the testings. If they don't find a vaccine fast enough, they'll get all the testings and all that sort of stuff together and quarantine people. I know there's a lot of discussion about that I'm hearing it in all sorts of ways, these sort of creative thinking. But the other thing we have to remember was just a couple of months into this whole thing. And it's amazing how enterprising everybody is being and how everybody is thinking, and, so quickly. I feel like myself included, I never think this quickly, but in a way you're forced to, forced to think fast.
That's right.
And think about like, okay, well, what are we going to do?
And you're absolutely right. And people will find a way to maneuver around what's available to us to get what you need done. I have no doubt about that. It's there are days when I'm more patient about it than others,
Yeah. Don't you long for those moments? And I do. I long for like rehearsals and things like that, and just sort of being in a room and doing a reading, or even the sorts of even parts of the thing that I used to think like, I don't like doing that, but now I'm like, I'll do it. They're like, bring it on. I'll do whatever. And so let's talk a little bit about like that, the rehearsal, because you and I had such a fun time directing you in The True. That was like one of my. I just loved it. That whole thing and everybody in it. It was such a great group of people. But you have like this incredible, it's like no bullshit acting, which I sort of love about you. And I sort of wonder, like, did you learn that, or was that a conscious decision? Like, how did you find yourself like in that sort of way where, because you have this sort of no bullshit sort of style in your work that like can make monsters lovable, which is not. What's your? Do you think about the approach? We don't talk about approach when we're working together. Like figure out a rhythm, but like I was always curious. Like,
well, it's figuring out a rhythm. If that's as good a word as any. But no, I don't really have a conscious intellectual approach towards any of this stuff.
Yeah, me either, really.
Like I'll read a script and I'll think, oh yes, I definitely want to do that, and then I put it aside until I'm told to show up someplace to work on it, because some people show up, like even one of the people in our cast, so I can't remember who, they showed up off book. And first of all, that's impossible for me. But
people have to do that because they can't learn their lines and they get nervous. But you're so fast.
Maybe that is part of it. But so much of creating a piece, if you will, is about being in the room with the specific personalities that are going to be doing it with you, and the person who is helming the thing, So if I start reading the script too much before we get together, I've put in more percentages than I should have based on the fact that it's a 6-person play or whatever. I need to leave it alone until we're all together, And that's when it starts to happen in rehearsal, chatting with another cast member, or once we start together as a group is when it starts to take shape for me. But no, I don't really know what I do. I don't know.
I don't overanalyze either in a way. Like I know, like I'm an instinct person, because you do sort of put these groups of people together, and you have to put them together with your instinct, because you think like, oh, that one's going to go well with that person, or we even talked because we as we were putting The True together, and you just rely on your instincts, and you really can't use your head in a way, because then it doesn't come out that way. And that's what I loved about working with you. I think we both came at it in a similar way, where we sort of come at it with our hearts and our hearts before we come at it with too much thought. Because it's so hard to create people. I'm not embodying the people. I'm just trying to tell people this feels right or this doesn't feel right, but
Right.
to make up people with your head.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
The times I've tried, it backfires.
All the note taking, all the.
I don't understand that. I've never understood
breaking up the beats, all that sort of thing. That what's my beat? I've heard from people, and I feel like I would say your beat is you. That's the beat, man. Like that's the thing.
With your scene partner is really. I think the beats may change. I mean, the overall beats of the story will remain, but the shape of a scene can change depending on, first of all, the energy from the audience. Second of all, what you're getting from your scene partner. I don't know. I think if I can, I can't stay completely aware and have any intellectual stuff going on at the same time. It just doesn't work for me. And for years, I was almost embarrassed to say that, feeling like somehow I was less than or just not a good student or something. But I've been a little braver these last bunch of years to say, I don't know how to research things really, for a movie part or whatever. And I don't know how to, how to work on a script or, whatever, as you said.
It's funny. When a play that I'm not going to say what it is because this isn't, it would all work out good. But I was once working on something and a person auditioned for it and was so brilliant in the audition. And then about 6 months later, not 6 months, probably 3 or 4 months later, when we actually started the thing, he came in and he had this performance put on the character. And I was like, wait a minute, what happened to the person? And and finally I got the courage up to talk to him about this sort of thing that was so not where I was, and and it was the training. It was like I had a walk. I came up with a walk for my character, and I worked on a blah for my character, and he brought that all in the room, and I just found it so overwhelming. I didn't know where to start except to say, get rid of it, and it wasn't easy.
I think a lot of people, that comes from my my thought about that is I think that comes from insecurity, feeling like just showing up with yourself isn't enough. You got to bring other stuff with you. And I think it's only because I've been doing this a long time that I've learned to trust that something will eventually happen. Even though at times I feel sort of lost, it's all a part of a process that's familiar to me now. So
I don't think it's because you've been doing it a long time, actually. I imagine that you've always been this way. I followed you, obviously. I've been watching your work for forever before we worked together, and I think that that's just who you are. It's pretty wonderful. I mean, I felt lucky to have spent that time with you, and we're gonna do it again.
Oh man,
we're again. I'm looking for something for us to come out together. No, we're gonna figure it out because I need more. I need more.
I love that. Gosh, but, I'm dying over here.
Yeah, no, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I do think I do think we're gonna figure it out. Anyway, so getting back to your sort of non-process, which I'm fascinated by. So, I love the fact, we talked about it, the truth. You said, I didn't even read the play again. I read it twice or something like that. He said, and that was it. And I love that. And I sort of wonder, just getting back into the thing where you're saying about learning lines, why, because you had those huge monologues, but you learned them so quickly. And maybe that's why, because you weren't in your head so much that you approached it from, it's sort of an interesting thing to think about as.
Yeah.
But
there was nothing that was like thrown out of left field that she said. It all came from what I knew about the way she thought, the way she dealt with the men in her life, her political beliefs, and I don't know. I think there was nothing. It wasn't hard to memorize, and it was also for me to test myself as well, because I hadn't done a play where I had to say so much in a while. I was like, all right, Falco. Let's see if you can do this, Let's see if you're able.
There were big hunks there. And bringing the emotion to it and figuring out the emotion. Well, that just came so easily to you. It was like on the first go out. So what about some of your other theater experiences? Like, remember Sideman? Like that was that was a wonderful theater moment. What I mean, for you. And of course, there were complications around the business end of it, I guess.
Yeah, always.
And so, back then, you were reading scripts, and what makes you take a part? What makes you? I mean, obviously, there was a time where you took parts because you got parts.
Oh yeah,
but then there was a time.
400 years ago. So yeah, I was like, oh my God, somebody wants me to do something. So I mean, it was kind of a question of like, maybe I'll do this or maybe I won't.
Was that during that? You got Sopranos, right? During all that.
That's right. That's right. We're working on that. During one incarnation and the other, something Sopranos happened. And Warren Light, who wrote Sideman, he's very funny, but he tried to talk me out of it. He said, come on, you're not going to do a TV show instead of taking our play to the next level, you know. And I really struggled with that. But I come from nothing like a lot of people. My family never had money, and I certainly never had money since I've been living on my own. And they were going to pay me a chunk of money where I could pay off my student loan to do this pilot, and I couldn't walk away from it. It wasn't like, well, this is a great piece and people are going to watch it. Who the hell knows? You know, I never. But it was more about I wanted to know what it felt like to be solvent for a few minutes. So
I mean, so didn't you read that first Sopranos pilot and think like, what a great role, though? You didn't even think that. You don't even know.
You know what? I'm not great at knowing what people are going to respond to or what's really good. All I know is my reaction to it. Like, oh God, that feels good to say those lines or to be that person, or I like the way she interacts with this person or whatever. As far as whether the thing's any good, I'm not always great at being able to tell that, you know.
Well, who is? If we all were, we would be in.
We'd all be doing
great stuff. All be doing, yeah, exactly. It would be nonstop, and that would be so uninteresting.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, when you think about it, you know, I mean, it might be easier, but in certain ways, uninteresting.
Yeah, I just don't. I've never been. Had my finger on the pulse of the.
But I remember when you said to me, when you read plays, you think also about, like, you know, stage time and like how long the character will, you know, how much, because you hate sitting in the dressing room and backstage.
That's right.
Which a really funny way to look at it, that you get like to something backstage.
Yes, I mean that. Like, you know, I have to be there from, you know, whatever 7 to 11, regardless. So, you know, I might as well have a lot to do, is the way I look at it. If I have to be there and I'm only going to be backstage, that's, I don't know, it bums me out a little bit. I also like to act.
Yeah, of course.
So I love something to do.
Yeah, who wants to sit in the dressing room? I know that some people mind it. I think if I was acting, I think I'd feel like you. Like I would just, I would be frustrated if that's why when you said that, in a weird way, it struck a chord with me. I think that's one of the reasons why I like directing, because you're always on. You know, you don't have to like sit around. It uses all areas of your brain in a way, and everything, your whole body sometimes.
And then when you're done, you're done.
And then when you're done, you're done. Although not really. I don't know. I remain attached. It's almost like they're like children. They all have a different personality. Like if you say, I mean, I think we've done at New Group around, I don't know, probably 100 shows over the years. And if you said one, I would immediately recognize what it was. I mean, whether I was the director of it or the producer of it, I would recognize the feeling around it, because they all leave you with a different feeling.
There's always a big moment the first time, I don't know when it is, during previews or something, when the director doesn't show up so much anymore in everything I've ever done. It really, I go through the same abandonment phase that I go through, you know, with every job I ever do. It's like, doesn't he want to know how that monologue's going to go today? Or
I hear something like, or I'll get a call from Valerie, my stage manager, who'll be like, they want notes. All right, I'll go in. I just watched it, you know what I mean? But, you know, I like to try to come around, be around and, you know, sort of give some notes, because I understand how it is to, you know, it's challenging to have an audience 8 times a week. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you know, and the family that you work with, and of course involves the director and Valerie and, you know, whoever else may be in the room aside from the cast member. So little by little, at a certain point, you realize it's, you know, it's just the 6 of us backstage and everyone else is on to the next show. It's such a strange transition, but then it turns into some other great thing. But it's a real transition.
But, you know, it's on our show, we were lucky because we had such a, you know, on the True, it was such a wonderful group of people, but every once in a while you get a bad apple right back there. Sometimes, like, you know, you're in the rehearsals, everything's wonderful, and when they get in the run, they become monsters.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, well, I have been pretty lucky in that regard, but I'm trying to think. We had so many different casts in Sideman that every once in a while, you know, somebody would pass through the ranks that was like, ooh, boy, but I really appreciate it.
Get out. Yeah.
That role. Yeah.
I feel that way sometimes. I'm like, I love you. I think you're wonderful, but
Yeah, yeah. The
See you
chemistry.
later.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess, it is a complicated job, and chemistry is so much of it. It
Totally.
really is. Chemistry is so much of it. I feel that now even more than that as I reflect on it, just how much chemistry is. Of course, the chemistry between the actors, but also the chemistry between the director and the writer, the director and the actors and the designers. It's a very big thing.
It's hard to figure out why the hell anybody does this if that's not a part of it. It sort of doesn't make sense to me otherwise. Like, again, because I've been doing this a long time, it used to be just like, oh, we're making something and I don't care what the people are like or whatever. That's gone. Like, I hope of course, I always want to make something that's interesting and whatever, entertaining or thought-provoking. But if the people I'm working with are not pleasant or thoughtful, respectful, I don't know. I'm really just not that interested anymore. You spend an awful lot of time working on the thing before anybody else sees it. And I'm not willing to sacrifice all that time in my life. Let's say, he's a good actor, so people put up with the bad behavior. I'm not there anymore,
I wanted to show you my puppy. Just ran in. Because I know you're a dog person and you're in PETA and everything.
Of course. Oh my
God. When you met him a long time ago on the screen.
He was little.
He grew much bigger. He became he's like a giant. Like, we thought he was going to be like 15 pounds, but he's 5 months and it's probably like 20 something pounds already.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the breeder lied, I guess. Taking up too much of her head.
What's the dog's name again?
His name's Harry.
Harry.
Yeah, I love Harry. Yeah, I'm loving it. I never had a puppy before, but I had a cat, but now I'm loving it.
There was a time.
You have three, right? You have 3 dogs.
I have 3 with me right now. I got my 2, and then my sister has a yellow.
Oh, right, you're right. You have right. And the animal thing. Let's talk about that a little bit, because you're so once when I was on jury duty not long ago, there was somebody from PETA, and then when I said who I was, and I think maybe it was around the True or something like that, or maybe the True was running, he was like, "Oh, Edie Falco, PETA." I love that. I love that you're a PETA person, and that you do it.
Never would have thought I
like, you're not squirting ketchup on people, but you're like actually talking. Yeah.
Yes, they're known. I think that maybe they get a bad rap that's not earned for doing things like that, but maybe they have done things like that. I really don't know. But since I've been involved there, they want to change the way people treat animals. And I want to run around and tell everybody and say, but look at them, they're beautiful and they're alive. And of course you shouldn't do these things. But there are a lot of people who just don't give a hoot about that. It's just not where they're coming from. So PETA comes at it from such a smart way. They'll say, you know what, for your company, it would be so much cheaper if instead of using animals for this, we have this new thing that goes like that. They'll do some sort of backwards way to get them to agree to sign a bill to stop mistreating animals. They're just about getting things done. I have so much respect for their strategy. And I've been doing stuff with them for a long time. And it used to make me nuts that I'd go around to Congress and talk to these people, and it felt like nothing was happening. And they just had this like sage look, like, be patient, my little one. And then, 5 years later, there's a new law saying they can't do that anymore. It's just great. It's great. Anyway, it's been very meaningful to me.
Yeah, I know. And you're vegan. You got it all going on.
Yeah.
I wish I could be vegan. I just can't. I tried. I just can't do it for some reason. But maybe one day. I love animals just the same.
It gets easier every 5 minutes. They put something new on the market that's,
It's really, you can really eat now. Yeah, it's true. You can really eat. For a while, if you were vegan, you could barely eat.
That's right. Right, I was doing all this animal stuff, and then
the clothes are better too. Putting the clothes together, the shoes, and everything. Get it all together.
It's hard. There's we use animals for a lot of stuff, but
I know it's shocking when you think about it.
All of it is made in a different way now, and you can find it if you're looking.
Yeah, it's amazing that you're able to give it that much time amongst all the other stuff you have going on. So what are you looking at now? Like, what are your hopes next? I know you just got through doing a series and that's finished. Yeah. And you've done so many amazing, the series thing has been amazing for you. Obviously, you've made very good choices. You've developed some really great things, and you've really, people I mean, everybody. I mean, even we have these cocktail things afterwards. Yours sold out in a second because people are
No
just.
way.
Yeah, I think people just love your. I mean, there's a couple of slots that we hold left for today. If people want to join us, I'll say something about that later. But you, yeah, what the way the characters that you've chosen on TV and how they're also there's such discordance within all of them, and at the same time, I would watch The Sopranos, and on the episodes where there wasn't a family, I would be depressed. Because there was something about that. No, but there was something about you and him, and those kids and the way that, what you developed, the inner life that you developed for her. Because, I read a couple of scripts and, without the inner life, it isn't, it's a great script, but, because I was just so curious. But so when you're there and you're doing it, like, you don't judge your characters, obviously.
Nah.
Yeah,
No.
that's a bad thing to do.
On some level, I've got to understand why they do what they do.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the level is unconscious almost, like people would ask me about Carmela, like how she considers herself a good Catholic, a spiritually active person when her husband kills people. When people would ask, like, how could that be? And I'd be like, I don't know. I mean, but of course, on some level, I did know that that she's in denial. She doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about what her husband does. She can maybe pretend that it's something else that he does or whatever. But
right. Which is which is a daily thing in everybody's lives. I mean, maybe not as severe as that, but like people deny things about their partners all the time.
And if they were going to really face it head on, they were going to have to do something about their relationship. And I don't think she was ever ready to do that, really, except for there was some period, I guess, where she left him. But so anyway, I understand a lot of that stuff on a more of a visceral level.
Yeah.
And when asked about it, I'm not always great coming up with the language around it, but I wouldn't know how to do it if I didn't understand it on some level, I guess.
And you are one of these sort of amazing sort of leading lady character actors, you know what I mean? And that's another, tough thing. And part of it is, how the appearance and how you're so chameleonic in your appearance. I mean, when I look at you now, I see all of your characters, but when I look at your characters, I see different I see different people and I see different looks. How involved do you get in that? Like in the appearance of the characters and like the way the characters are presented physically and in the physical world. I know you were a producer of Nurse Jackie, so I'm sure. Anyway, I'd be curious to know, like, what.
Yeah,
how do you think about that?
I actually did produce Nurse Jackie, believe it or not. I should have, but I didn't. But no, don't be silly. But it's been another thing that I've always been a little embarrassed to say early on is that I have no input into the way characters look. I have no interest at all. I love the fact that there are people that the director, producer, whoever trusts enough to take over that part of the invention of this person. I don't want, because oftentimes the information I get from the costume designer helps me. Like, I don't want it all to be my idea. She should wear a hat. And this guy, I don't know. It's like, you tell me what she should wear here, or what you think the makeup should be. And I love that because then it becomes really a collaborative experience and not just me bossing everybody around. Frankly, it's not something I know about, wardrobe and stuff. And it's not something that I'm interested in. So I let the other people do their job. And what the audience sees is a combination of a lot of people's thoughts about her.
That's so interesting because it all feels so personal when I watch you. But I can remember when we were in the True, and I told our costume designer I said I want her to have a hairdo that's like a helmet, and and I said, but Edie's probably not going to want that. I thought, like, because but there was I never heard anything about it. There you were with your helmet hair, which really made I thought the look of the character.
I loved it.
It was such a great look for you. And here I always thought, like, oh, Edie, that you're such a meticulous sort of actress that you would have feelings about the way the character looked and the way the character. But it's refreshing to hear that because a lot of actors, I feel like sometimes there's not as much trust. You know what I mean? And trust is like a really big thing because you pick your director the same way your director picks you. And so there is or your writer or your showrunner or whatever. Whoever's running your life at any given moment. And the fact that you have such trust, maybe that also frees you to really, to let go of all the artifice and just focus on,
the one job that I was hired to do.
Yeah. I love how you say the job you hired to, because I just see you as such a great artist, and you talk about it so practically, which for me is so interesting, because when your work is so deep, before I worked with you, I imagined you like, you're immersing yourself in that Daniel Day-Lewis way, that you're not gonna, because your emotions. But then when I met you, I realized, your emotions are here all the time. So it's like one of those things that you have just great access to your emotions.
Yeah, which it was a long time coming. It didn't used to be quite as easy. But again, after a lot of years of practice, you learn what works for you. And so far, so good. No, I mean, a big part of it is that I just love this. I love acting. I love it so much. I love it more as I get older. I feel like I have more to offer creatively just because of the work I've done on my own life about just learning how to be alive, in the moment and living fully, and all that stuff gives me greater perspective into the lives of other people. So I absolutely love what I do, and I guarantee that's got to be a large part of anything that's interesting that people may see if they watch me, is the fact that I just love it. I just love it. And even at a time like this, when it's crazy, that I just, that hasn't changed. Otherwise, I would have picked something more reasonable to do with my life, many years ago.
I think about that all the time now. But I know it's insane. But at the same time, I guess we're just addicted to it, so we have no choice. We have to keep doing it, and we'll figure it out.
Right.
We'll beat this virus. We'll beat this virus.
I have no doubt.
We'll get you, virus. Okay, so just we're getting close to the end. I'm just so curious, because it's been so wonderful talking to you. Really made my day. But okay, so what if some things aren't going so well and on something that you're working on? Like what's that like for you? Like a struggle? Have you had a struggle, or has everything been in work, or has it all been easy peasy? Have you ever felt like, oh shit, why did I do this? You don't have to name names. I'm just curious about the emotion around that and how you deal with it. How do you deal with it?
Well, there have definitely been struggles of various shapes and sizes over the years. And I try to take all the emotion out of it. What's actually happening? How can it be fixed? And I will oftentimes go up to the actual person involved and do what I thought years ago was impossible, and just say, listen, there's this thing that you do when you're producing and you're on set. You talk really loud, and it makes everybody, whatever. I'm making this up by the way. Something where you do it without wanting to hurt them. You just want to change the situation. And I've just gotten better at just say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean. And that's gotten me through every difficulty in my life, and behaviors change as a result of it. There's nothing that's so hard that it can't be talked through. And in talking through, you can find out what the action is to fix it. If everybody's heart's in the right place, I think that can be done.
Well, that's a really moving sentiment to end on. I have to say I wish everybody in the world just heard what you said right now, but probably only 500 or so people just heard it. But it really is it's a beautiful thing to think about, at this moment, applying the art to the real thing. Anyway, we're gonna say goodbye to everybody on these platforms now, and we're going to be going to our cocktail hour, our virtual cocktail hour, with a cocktail devised by our friend Sammy Katz of A Girl's Guide to Drinking Alone, that are named after you and our situation, whatever. So we'll have those mixed up on this break. We're going to. I just want to tell everybody, that's watching, that's interested in joining us, and once again, thanks so much to everybody for tuning in. If you are tuning in week after week, but I think our viewership is growing, which is sort of nice. That we're going to be announcing our next lineup of people. Like over the next couple of weeks, we have Erica Schmidt, the great director, and Danye Love, the playwright who wrote our play this year, 1 and 2. And then following that, we have a lineup of 7, taking us to the end of July, which means that we're probably going to be doing this till the end of July, or probably to the end of next July. Hopefully not.
Why not?
But anyway, I'm enjoying it nonetheless. So maybe we'll get to it live one day. But these are the people who are going to be joining us. On June 17th, we have Zoe Kazan, one of my faves. June
Yep.
24th, Nico Santos from Jesse Eisenberg's play. July 1st, Natasha Leone, one of my dear friends. She's gotten very famous lately. She was always famous, but now she's really famous. And then we have Nat Wolf on July 8th, Suzanne Vega on July 15th, Clint Ramos, the costume designer, on July 22nd, and the great Malik Pancholi on July 29th. We're going to take a 5-minute break right now. Oh, they put them up on the screen. Look at that.
There they are.
Yep. And we're going to take a 5-minute break now. Anybody who wants to donate, go to our website. Anything will help. We'll take it, please. Give. It's that time. I know people are struggling, but if you have an extra 5 cents, we'll take it. And we'll see you in 5 minutes. We're going to have our cocktail together. And if you'd like to join the cocktail hour, I think there's 1 or 2 spots left. You can go on our website and sign up. Okay. See you soon. 5 minutes, Edie. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Love you. Okay, bye.
Love you.